All right, we're back with our second game of this draft deck. Okay, so like I figured out last game, Battle Droid is better because I can pump it with Bruiser. However, getting them both and playing first means that I'd rather probably just have Bruiser leveled up. Um, Battle Droid is potentially a dicey card, and I'd rather just play my more important stuff. Seismic Adept, again, is not level gated. However, it levels up reasonably, so it's probably worth just playing this at first opportunity. I could also play Mystic just to make sure that this trade happens. I'd rather get Sentry out there. I'll risk my opponent being very, very aggressive and playing like Jetpack or something. And I will play Seismic Adept. If nothing else, Seismic Adept will very likely be able to rain Brawler or whatever in and make sure that things go back to normal if my opponent does go crazy. Magma Hound is very good. It's probably the best, although Patrol and Warden is tempting. Oh man, opponent's going big here with spells. That's a lot of damage. Okay then. Interesting. So, Magma Hound doesn't do as much on this board, but it's very good to have leveled up. Light Shield Patrol. I feel like playing with Light Shield Patrol is probably correct to play Magma Hound here, but okay, I'm gonna place Patrol way over there just to get it out of the way of my later creatures that I might want to have move. And I'm gonna move that over to get eaten by the Patrol. So we've got some good creatures out. We haven't been playing anything that's too terrible. I'd love to play Technician and Metacite these two creatures, but it really depends. I need to keep in mind that my opponent is going to have a Call of the Week at level 2, so I'm going to have to watch out for my, I think it's 8 power now creatures. We'll see. All right, I could always throw that in front of the... ooh, that's pretty good of my opponent. Okay, now I do have the opportunity, if I want to, play Stonefist Giant and Metacite to level the two creatures I'd like later. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, it would be Technician. And then Metacite, because Technician is obviously the best creature at this level. And I will go ahead and do that just so that I can keep the board fine and get these creatures, which are good at level 2, ready. So, our board is not great, our health is worse, but we are looking okay going into level 2 based on the creatures and such that we have to play. My opponent can play another spell to keep his or her Wanderer alive. However, spells don't tend to level up as well, so it's not always your best value. We'll see. Okay, these two creatures are really not impressive. Sparkblade Assassin is very strong, but it doesn't level up as well. So right now I'm going to play the creatures that will. Matrix Warden is also good with Wildfire Maiden, so I'll hopefully have that creature around next turn to throw 9 damage at something. So try not to die, lady. Okay, so that Savant is scary. I will kill it if I have the opportunity. Ouch. That was a very good play by my opponent. There's no easy way to kill the big Savant this turn, unfortunately. Definitely going to keep my Bruiser alive as best I can so that hopefully it can do its thing. Sadly, Warden's going to die. Nothing great here. Not the best level 2 hand, unfortunately. I can play Glacial Colossus if my opponent plays a really intimidating creature. Otherwise, Pilot, Patrol, and Mystic in particular are options. Okay, so after taking that 22 damage very early, we haven't taken a ton since my opponent leveling 2 Flame Shaper Savants is definitely intimidating, so it's worth keeping an eye out for. But at least, hopefully, things will be doing okay. Okay, so my opponent keeps his or her Flame Shaper alive for the moment. I could Glacial Colossus to kill it. I don't know if it is worth it, though. If I should be, there's a chance that I should be leveling creatures that have more impact. The other thought is I do have Jetpack, so Colossus is not dead later. I think I'm gonna throw it out just in part because I've got Seismic Adept, so I can use that to throw things in front of it potentially. Gonna get the Rhyme Charger out of the way. Unfortunately, it has mobility, so I cannot force it to die at the moment. Again, my Tactician is comes out the moment that I play my Nexus Pilot. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I may be able to use the Adept to throw something in front of the Pilot to kill the Pilot, but we'll see. My opponent did do a lot of damage early, and he's playing things that can continue to get damage through, like the Rhymehorn Charger. However, we're starting to catch up on life a little bit, so it's not the worst. This Technician is definitely coming out. We'll see what else. Oh, that's really surprising. My opponent definitely seems to have something that he or she wants to play in lane 3. We'll see what that is. Charger trying to, it does trade favorably with the Colossus, but the Colossus already got its kill. Like, that's not the worst. Okay, so Uranti lets Wanderer mostly eat the my creature. Okay, so Tactician is probably not worth it here. Tower Vanguard is likely to trade here, so I'm going to throw that out just so I can preserve health on my better creature, the Tactician. Alright, these are actually a couple of pretty good creatures. Obviously, Matrix Warden is great to see. But the third lane looks like it's going to clean up in a moment, so Tactician is reasonable. Ouch. Okay, so Magma Hound will probably be played to clean up Uranti, although I could definitely throw a Tactician out just to level it. Ouch. Opponent forces through a little more damage. Again, it's still not that much damage, though. Okay, so Magma Hound in lane 1 kills Uranti. Matrix Warden buffs Hound to kill the Wanderer. That seems like a favorable enough trade that it's probably worth playing, and it lets me play creatures that are good to either level up or have on the board. Okay, couple of good creatures. My opponent is playing a whole lot of spells. Again, the Savants are scary. Oh. Wow, the Primordial Slam just to deal 7 damage to the Matrix Warden? Yeah, I'll allow it. Nargath Bruiser will threaten the Savant. Wildfire Maiden has a threat of her own. Okay, so we're pretty caught up. Don't have amazing creatures, but it's looking okay. My opponent has a couple of good creatures leveled up. A couple of really spells. I do need to keep an eye out for that Primordial Slam. And similar scariness. However, my opponent's creatures will probably tend to be a little less impressive than mine because I've leveled a lot more creatures. Or at least a couple more. Okay. Flamestoke Shaman's fine. It'll let my opponent bolt there. But this is... Shaper Savant is still going to trade. Alright, Avalanche Invoker isn't going to survive long enough to do anything. Okay, so that will not trade. However, I will probably just throw something in front here, since my creatures are not impressive. Glacial Colossus would be fine. But I think I'd rather level up a War Charger just in case I need its level 2. I could throw the Wildfire Maiden's fire at the opponent, but I think I'd rather have it be a threat. Even if my opponent can answer it, it'll get a decent amount of damage onto the opponent's creature. So yeah, this game is definitely going interestingly. My opponent has keeps getting a string of scary creatures. But again, these situations just keep coming up where it doesn't feel like my opponent's actually getting that much. Okay, so do damage. I think my opponent is gonna Flame Shaper my Wildfire Maiden, so I'm gonna just throw the damage. The question is, at what? I think the answer here is just my opponent. Because my giant... My opponent will probably not be able to prevent the giant from eating the Savant, so, or at least trading with it. So I'll throw that out. If my opponent does kill the giant, then it will take an awful lot of effort, and then I'll be able to clean up with a weaker creature. Alright, this Seismic Adept is a very good creature. Okay, my opponent did keep the Savant alive. But again, how about a Tower Vanguard, probably? Primordial will require the Adept to either move it or trade, which my opponent probably won't want. Yeah, definitely getting the lead here. And I do think it has to do with just the spell-heavy deck causing my opponent to stumble as levels go on. Spell-heavy decks might be a little better for getting control early on, but it's hard to keep it up. Okay. Mystic to kill Adept is not bad. I could just play more... I could play more aggressively to try to get in more damage, but I think I just want to preserve my life total, keep board control as much as I can. Unfortunately, the Witch is surviving that, but I was unable to kill quite everything. Hopefully the Magma Hound will be able to clean it up, and hopefully my opponent will not play spells to get in too much damage. But if my opponent does play spell-centric, then I do have some creatures that are going to put in a threat. This Wildfire Maiden also does have a 14 strength Firebomb to throw at my opponent if my opponent doesn't, yeah. Okay, so that's going to kill the Primordial. But it's not necessarily going to be enough. It is 18 damage here, though. Okay, so Magma Hand needs to kill one and threaten the other. So I want something to block the Uranti. I probably should Wildfire the Uranti. The question is, do I hit in for 14 first? 14 is a lot of damage. So I think I am going to. I think I'm going to play the War Charger because it'll be able to move to deal damage, and it will survive this hit. The War Charger does survive the hit, however, it will be able to be killed by a lot of my opponent's spells. That Uranti, though, is just too dangerous to keep around. So my opponent will probably have something that'll kill the War Charger, which isn't great for me. A Tactician will bring the Maiden back into the game, which my opponent will not probably expect. And the Sparkblade Assassin is not an ideal player level 4 play, but it's probably fine. Okay, Brawler over here is surprising. Unless my opponent has a Call of the Week or something. I guess my opponent is figuring that I'm going to attack into it and it'll get my creature dead soon enough. I could move, get the 9 damage in, and play creatures, but my opponent's played enough things that move or kill creatures that I really just want to get my opponent's creatures off the board as much and often as I can. So my Maiden's going to throw her 2 damage directly at the opponent because it's not going to be likely to be relevant here, and then going to play the Assassin. Okay, so level 2 of a movement spell will be a very scary threat here since that'll be doubled. I don't think it'll be enough to kill me in one shot, but it's definitely scary. Maiden is nice. We'll see. Jetpack is actually very nice here because my opponent's health is low enough that there's a chance I'll be able to like move the Assassin or something to finish off the opponent. All depends. Savant's probably going to bolt something like Assassin. So that it trades, yeah. Okay, so Assassin's probably best here. Again, this is a little bit dicey, but I don't have a lot of options. This is not a great hand. The Patrol is good to see, but by player rank 5, I really wanted to see more tier 3 creatures here. More level 3 creatures, but hopefully... man, Wildfire Maiden has really been pulling her weight this game, it feels like. This is another time that I feel like a Jetpack would allow me to move my Maiden, deal damage, and then throw or fire my opponent to finish her off. But, alright. We'll see. My opponent could also use Flameshaper Savant to deal damage directly to me, which would be a very aggressive line, but I could see my opponent doing it based on how aggressively my opponent has been playing. if my opponent moves Primordial, it would take a lot for my opponent to not just die. Maybe a Primordial Slam on the Primordial and throwing the Savant trigger at me and something else similar. Ooh, that's actually getting close to what I was describing. Okay, my opponent did similarly, but threw the damage at my creature, which is less aggressive than I kind of expected my opponent to be. This is scary, but probably the best I've got. A very close game. Closer than I thought it was going to be. I know I talked trash about my opponent's deck having so many spells in it. It can be dicey, but obviously there are times when getting in that much damage can become explosive. That Seismic Adept my opponent has is going to make it very difficult for me because, getting damage in on the Uranti could definitely just escalate, given my opponent's deck. Okay. Technician. No, I think Adept is very important here, actually. Matrix Warden. I think I'll buff itself. Just kind of spread out the damage. I wish I could handle that Invoker. But my opponent is going to have a little bit of a opportunity with that to maybe get in damage. We'll see. These, however, are very good creatures. So that makes me feel a bit better. Okay. That kills one of my creatures. Ouch. Just barely lethal. Okay, that was a rough game. I felt like I easily could have gotten there, almost did. But my opponent played very well for her outs and made it to exactly lethal a turn before I probably would have gotten the kill. So, that's not the worst. All right, well, I'll be back in the final game.